Islam,
Islam.
Islam, Islamism. We want to Islam. We want to welcome you to the Moorish Sense channel. The Moorish Sense channel dedicated to bringing more sense, more sciences, more sense, and more insight into life. We want to welcome you to the Moorish Sense channel once again. I'm one half of the dynamic duo, Brother Brendan joined the AO Sheik of the Moorish Science Temple of America. And to my right this evening, we have the other half of the dynamic duo.
And I'm Brother Valans Bay, Sheik of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Temple number 13, 1055 Milton Avenue.
Islam. Praise Allah. We want
Islam.
to welcome you all. If this is your first time tuning into the More Sense channel, we want to just welcome you. The More Sense channel is dedicated to those individuals who may be familiar with the Moorish Science Temple of America, have questions in regards to the Moorish Science Temple of America, or just love history or love to just learn about specific things. But whatever the case may be, welcome to our channel. Again, if you have any questions at all, you can put your questions or comments in the chat. And as always, we're going to open up this program with the Moorish American prayer, and it's going to be led by Sheikh Valans Bey. Islam,
Islam.
Islam,
Islam.
Islam.
Islam. Allah, the Father of the universe,
Allah, the Father of the universe,
Father of love,
Father of love,
truth,
truth,
peace,
peace,
freedom,
freedom,
and justice.
and justice.
Allah is my protector,
Allah is my protector,
my guide,
my God,
and my salvation
and my salvation
by night
by night
and by day.
and by day
Through his holy prophet,
through his holy prophet,
Drew Ali.
through Ali.
Amen.
Amen.
Islamism.
Praise Allah.
Allah.
Praise Allah.
Islamism.
Last week, we got into a portion of our segment, and this is a series actually. The series is called the Moorish Science Temple of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. We chose to name it the name this segment the Moorish Science Temple of America according to Prophet Noble Drew Ali because, as I stated last week, we know and understand that there's a lot of information floating about on the internet, as well as information floating about on social media in regards to the prophet. Some
Mhm.
information good, some not so good, and not because of the prophet Noble Drew Ali. It's just that we've come to the understanding that there has been a misunderstanding of what the Moorish Science Temple of America is, the purpose of the Moorish Science Temple of America, the prophet Noble Drew Ali's ultimate mission and goal, and what the requirements are for all Moorish Americans, according to Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America. So, with that being said, we're going to examine various different topics, not topics, excuse me, various different articles. Some articles based off of our own research, as well as articles coming directly from the Prophet Noble Drew Ali's guidelines, being the Holy Quran and the Moorish Science Temple of America,
Mhm.
the Constitution and bylaws given to us by Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the Moorish literature, which was compiled by Prophet Noble Drew Ali reincarnated, also known affectionately to many people as Brother Prophet, and also various different articles as well. Islam?
Yeah, yeah, Islam. And before we move on, Sheikh, I'd just like to do a little bit of housekeeping, right?
Go ahead.
Never when we get on here are we trying to insinuate that we are better than someone else.
Correct.
We are not trying to insinuate that how people are taught is
Inaccurate.
less than how we are taught.
Islam.
Um, and I'm gonna so I would like to ask everyone to keep an open mind and to know that we might say something that you may disagree with or even may upset you. We are not intentionally trying to achieve the goal by this goal by being disagreeable with anyone or upsetting anyone. This is not our intention. Before we move forward in this particular segment or any other segment, we would like everyone to think about what it takes to prepare your favorite meal for a moment, right? Everyone on this call or not call on this segment or who will see previous segments or future segments, we ask that the same energy that you take to prepare your favorite meal, please use the same energy as we discuss and carry out this particular or any other segment, um, as we further develop them, right? By this being a collaborative effort, and there are many different cooks out there, that know about their, what it takes to prepare their favorite meal, the seasonings, what they like, you know. Um, so we know about cooking, but for this and our future segments, we would like to issue out a recipe, right?
Go ahead.
So this recipe that we're going to issue out, we ask that you give us a gallon of trust, just as we're going to give you the same. We ask for 3 quarts of commitment. We ask for 5 pints of effective communication, right? As we say all the time, we don't debate, we communicate.
That's right.
We ask for 4 cups of collaboration, um, 2 teaspoons of creative thinking, right? And innovation, not in a sense that we are trying to create anything new, but that you be innovative in your mind when we present certain concepts, and don't think that we're trying to destroy what it is that you know or you think or whatever the case may be. We're presenting a perspective, and we just ask you to look at the perspective that we're presenting, and you look at it with an objective view and from a different lens. And we ask that you 2 teaspoons of collaboration, right? Because ultimately, what we hope to do on More Sense is we are raising the standards for all Moorish Americans, because what the standards that we've seen over the last years or previous years, those standards have been poor, and basically we're addressing behaviors, not talking about anyone,
That's right.
right? Um, so we would like for you to also keep in mind that the words information and communication are often used interchangeably, but they are slightly quite different things. Information is given out, uh, information is giving it out, but communication is getting through, and that's what we hope that we're doing. Is we're getting hopefully we're getting through to our listening audience and those who will come on, because at the end of the day, people have been presenting half truths in reference to what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali said that the Moorish Science Temple of America was about. So, I just like to say that.
Well said, Sheik. I think it was, well said and duly noted. As we stated before, in previous episodes, the purpose of our show is never to browbeat anyone.
Hmm.
It's not a gotcha moment. It's nothing of that nature. And again, we can have friendly dialogues as well as friendly disagreements, or respectful disagreements, but we don't have to ever get disrespectful or honorary with each other.
That's right.
To our principles. So, again, if anything that we present this evening is subjective, or if you have any questions about it, you can definitely email us at moresensemedia@gmail.com. And I'll put it in the chat before we get off this evening. Again, I want to give a shout out to Brother Jonesville. I think he did email us earlier.
Okay.
So we did receive your email, Brother. I think Robert Jonesville. So I did respond back to you. So we'll be looking to have a dialogue with you as well. Islam.
It's fun.
All right. So the first thing we want to get into this evening, again, we always start our meetings off with the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and there's one portion of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali's works that I would like to bring to our attention this evening, and that is, give me 1 second, please. We'll go right here. Yep. Here we go. And make it appear. So we have a document which is known as the Prophet Has Spoken. It's Friday. The date of the article itself is Friday, November 9th, 1928. So this was during the time of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali's, when the Prophet Noble Drew Ali was in the physical form. We know the Prophet Noble Drew Ali transitioned out the form in 1929. But this right here is definitely how can I say, I guess a requisite for or requirement for not only grand sheiks and governors and head officials, but anybody who's coming up in the ranks of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam.
What's
So
up?
the Prophet has spoken Friday, November 9th, 1928. It says, all governors, grand sheiks, and head officials that guide any body of Moors of any temple of the Moorish Science Temple of America, he or she must be of moral standard and have a heart of love, and their works must be of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. They are to imitate the prophet in speech and teaching in any said temple. Now, I want to stop right there. I know it's a semicolon, but the prophet makes reference to imitate, and this is not me putting my own innovation on it, but imitating the prophet is by standing in the likeness of the prophet Noble Ali in conduct and character.
That's
Um,
right.
it's the building blocks, and ultimately, when we're dealing with love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, many a time, Sheik, as you teach in the temple, you teach us that these are cosmic principles. So
That's right.
these are principles that we embody within ourselves, and we do it through the application of living it, not only in real time when we're out in the public, but also in private, as you want to see momentarily. So I go on, and the prophet says this: they must not be under the influence of any intoxicating liquors or any other harmful motive that will terminate to become a detriment to the organization. Because by being an official in this organization, you are a representative. So anything that you do in public or in private, in the public eye, the private eye, we know at that time, that social media definitely didn't exist, but you did have the newspaper, and you had individuals who had businesses, etc. So the prophet
Hmm.
is letting us know, and letting us know even now, you got to be mindful of what you say and what you do, not because you're trying to walk around with a polished coat or anything like that, but because you know you may be the first example of a Moorish American that anybody ever meets.
Right.
And
Right.
often say that first impressions are everything. So if we doing things that we know according to the divine constitution, the bylaws, or just the law in general that we live by is diametrically opposed to what we learn from our laws given to us by the prophet, by the will of Allah, then you're causing more harm than good. It states,
Hmm.
it must not be known that any leader is staying away from home or neglecting his duty at home, or must allow the public to know of their wrongdoing. So that doesn't mean that you have a past to do wrong. It means, hey, if you're doing something that you know you ain't no business doing, knock it off, cut it out, and make a speedy reparation to the utmost of thy ability. It says they must forever live the life of love at home, and it must be known by all the members. They must not speak rash words or use any profane language in the mildest form before any other individuals, because a leader without influence of good works cannot be a leader. And to be a real Moorish leader, you must study the Quran and the divine constitution that is handed down to you by me, the prophet. No finance businesses are to be open without any group of members, with any group of members, my apologies, or any temple by the governor or grand sheiks of whatsoever in charge without consultation of me, the prophet. So now again, as I stated maybe 2 episodes ago, well, how do we consult the prophet Noble Ali in 2024, seeing that the prophet Noble Ali transitioned out before in 1929? Again, we can go into that and ask that question, or answer the question. But I really want us to think on that. How do we consult the prophet Noble Ali? And
Right.
he kind of gives us the answer to that in the previous lines above. All uplifting funds books are to be issued only through me, the prophet, because that money is to finance the Moorish movement. The head of any temple can maintain an emergency fund which cannot exceed the amount of 25 to 50 cents a week per member. This was during the time of the prophet.
You're right.
All public collection and dues also to the supporting of each said temple in this domestic work. No finance book is to be in any temple except by the prophet. The head of every temple must by law obey the word of the prophet, and if any leader or head of any temple fails to obey these laws, embezzlement is his charge and is subject to the enforcement of the law by the grand body, and the penalty may be a fine or removal from office or
Hmm.
placed under heavy restriction of the law. Supreme words of the prophet Noble Drali. Islam.
Right. Islam. And the blessing is right. Basically, the last episode we talked about the mission statement. We showed the mission statement. We showed that it came from the Moorish God. And basically, what the people need to know is that the Prophet Noble Ali himself established that mission statement or set goals for the organization.
Right.
Now, what is a mission statement? Because
Breaking up, sheet.
Um,
Good.
the reason we want to the reason why we want to identify what a description of a company's fundamental purpose. Let the truth be told, the Moorish Science Temple of America is a company, right? Um, in the sense of what we do.
Breaking up a little bit, sheet. We're gonna let you buffer out. You should be good in a few seconds. All right, we just holding on. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. All right, sheet.
I'm
Good.
good.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Go ahead.
So, the mission statement is a brief description of a company's fundamental purposes. It answers the question, why does our business exist? Or so in this instance, why does the Moorish Science Temple of America exist? The mission statement articulates the company's purpose, both for those in the organization and for the public. Upon further investigation of the prophet's writings, we discover several places where the prophet indicates and articulates for organization which is also connected to how
Hold on, sheet. You're breaking up again. I want to make sure everybody can hear you clearly. Should be good in a few seconds. All right, you good.
okay.
Go ahead.
So basically we discovered in several places where the prophet indicates and articulates our mission and outline four specific goals of the organization, which is also connected to help reach the organization's ultimate goal, which is the divine plan of the ages,
That's
right?
right. That's
And a
right.
lot of people don't know what that is,
They don't.
but as we continue to build up our character, it starts to manifest. Because let the truth be told, anybody that becomes a member of the organization, we always say, and what's said by one of the elders, mother, Spring Grand Sheikah's mother, Betty Prathiel, she says, "What? It's not what the Moorish Science Temple of America can do for you; is what can you do for the Moorish Science Temple of America?
That's
Bring
right.
your talents, right?" So, in the Moorish literature, we see in the Moorish leaders' historical message to America.
Let me pull it up.
Yes, in this third paragraph. Um, yep, pull it up.
Okay. Page 2. You can continue, sheet. I'm just pulling it up.
Okay. The organization is to help in the great program of uplifting fallen humanity and teach those things necessary to make our members better citizens. In order to do this, we as an organization must meet a person at their very core. We know that is to reach a person's spirit. However, before we can reach the spirit, we have to help a person meet some very other basic needs. Upon investigation and research, we happen to come across an article reported to come from the Moorish Guide, which we have read already. The prophet articulated the goals of the organization. He outlined the four goals, and we talked about that.
Yes.
When we look at about were incorporated when
Hold on, sheet. You're breaking up again.
okay, I don't know what's going on with this.
All right, you good now. This is probably the signal. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So in this particular article, it talks about, the 15 branch temples that we have a Rotarian complexion. Um, when the organization was established,
Right.
and it just goes through some very basic things. So now the question becomes, where did all of these teachings about using uniform commercial codes, sovereignty. Where did all these things come from? Talking about adhesion contracts, talking about the Prophet Noble Drew Ali was a Mason. You have to ask, where did all these things come from? And they come from misunderstandings, because the Prophet Noble Drew Ali himself articulates in his literature um, what we are about, who he was, and a number of other things, right? So, um, now you know, there's some articles out that says the prophet's name was Thomas. Well, I think it was the media, or at that particular time, the media machine trying to confuse people of who the prophet was, right?
They call it a smear campaign.
A smear campaign.
That's right.
So now when you look at Thomas, was were they trying to say that he was like a doubting Thomas? You get what I'm saying?
That's
Eh,
long.
eh, And then what they say that this man who supposedly they called Thomas Drew, they arrest him for healing people using natural
Remedies,
remedies.
remedies, right?
And I always ask, okay, if his name was Thomas and and that was him, or whatever the case may be, what different did he do in 1916, whatever year it was that they're saying that these articles existed? What different did he do than Dr. Sebi did in this era time?
Right.
So I mean, it was, like whether they called him Thomas or Timothy. In his literature, he says his name is Timothy.
That's right.
So tomato, whatever they utilize, we know that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali was not here to, hurt people. He was trying to help people.
That's right.
Just like Dr. Sebi was trying to help and heal people as well, right? So just wanted to put that out there. And oh, we talked about the divine constitution a little bit, right? And the title being in red. And we define Moorish, that it would consisted of a base word and a suffix. We identified, excuse me, and defined what science is. And we also went into what temple and origin of temple is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now we want to talk about okay? Now, when we say of is expressing the relationship between a part of a whole. So it says the Moorish Science Temple of America, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we're talking about of America, so it's saying that it's expressing a relationship to America and that it's a part of a whole. One, why? Because we were incorporated in the United States, right? And in the specific state of Illinois, that's where we were incorporated at. And when it's saying of America, why did the prophet? Because at one time, according to the article we just showed, that the name was the Moorish Temple of Science,
Right.
and then an affidavit was filed um, with the recorder of deeds to change the name from the Moorish Temple of Science to the Moorish Science Temple of America.
That's right.
Now, what's so important about America, right? Um, One, there's this book, right? And it tells you, right, because and it's called Ancient Mystic Oriental Masonry. Now, it's not because the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. This is a supplemental text,
Right.
and Moors doing research happened to find it. We're not affiliated or associated. Have never taken any Masonic oaths,
Never will.
um, and never will. Um, in this particular book, and by the way, it's by uh, Swinburne Claimer. Basically, it states, um, I'm gonna start right here. It says we are not indebted to either ancient Egypt for either religion, and in their record they say, or masonry, but to America. And it is a fact that at Memphis, Egypt, in the pyramids, under the guidance of the king, the mystic rites of masonry were worked many thousands of years ago. But at that time, Egypt and the continent of America were one and the same. And we talked about how America, under the divine constitution and bylaws, is actually ancient Africa.
And we're
And
gonna
we
get that later
We'll
episode.
get into that another show, right?
Right.
And I just wanted to show the importance of the word America. And if you could pull up, I, I think it's the document, the naming of America.
Okay. Let's do that. Naming of America. Got
Yeah.
it. Here we go. All right. Coming up now. Thank everybody for bearing with us. Here we go.
Now, this particular article, as we can see, it's a 12-page article by Jonathan Cohen, right? And the caption under it, it says the name America applied to present day Brazil appeared for what is believed the first time on Martin Wurtzmiller 1507 world map, known as the baptismal certificate of the New World and also America's birth certificate. But as you continue to read this particular article, you find out that there were many cities in America, or what we presently call America, Central, South, and North America, that bear the name America,
That's
right?
right.
Now that's just one article that talks about the birth, what they consider the birth certificate of America, and there's some interesting information in there that we can read. And what we're doing is making known why the prophet utilized America, because actually America is not in honor of Amerigo Vespucci,
That's
nor
right.
is it in honor of Christopher Columbus. It is a more ancient word than most people believe.
Islam.
Pull up that second document that comes from, it's a journal.
Got you.
It's an annual report, actually.
Okay. Here we go.
And this annual report that we're about to pull up and share, it is the annual report of the Board of Regents of the Smithsonian Institution, showing the operations, expenditures, and condition of the institution. And this was published July 1888, right?
Islam.
And here in the introduction, they talking about a tribe that was here called the Americus, right? And when you start seeing names like Nicaragua, uh, El Salvador in this particular article, it tells you, it starts to tell you these people, when they came to the New World, it was people that was already here. And let the truth be told, they were Moors, right? And they had names that the European could not enunciate. Um, and they started to report on these particular things in reference to, based off of what they thought they understood about it, right? Um, so this is showing the importance of the word America and why the prophet utilized that um, name, and he was making reference to the ancient empires that was here in Central and South and North Americas 10,000 years before Columbus even found it, and various other reasons as well. So I just wanted to, point that those particular things out. That's to finish up the title of the Divine Constitution, and by the title, the Moorish Science Temple of America. And we do know and understand that it is incorporated.
That's right. Islam.
Praise Allah.
Praise Allah. So now we're going to, and Sheikh, thank you for bringing those points to the viewers' attention, because
Mhm.
we don't want to leave anything unchecked or unturned.
That's right.
What we want to focus on now, we're going to go back to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali's literature, because one point that you brought up is the fact that certain things have crept into the Moorish Science Temple of America for whatever
Hmm.
reason, and we know some of the origins of certain things,
Hmm.
but we want to make it clear, when we're dealing with the Prophet Noble Drew Ali's teachings, the Prophet Noble in the Moorish literature. In the Moorish literature, there's a specific article, and the article is called Caveat Emptor.
That's right.
All right. So in caveat emptor means let the buyer beware.
That's right.
And then we're going to get into some more articles. So in caveat emptor in the Moorish literature, it appears like this. And then also I have another version as well, which is the National Edition from 1927 to 1929. but in both Moorish literature, same Moorish literature, it reads caveat emptor, states Moors are upright, or excuse me, Moors are men, upright, independent, and fearless, who care for their
Hmm.
loved ones and follow the prophet to a destiny which is not uncertain nor unknown. They are fortified by the impregnable doctrine built upon love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. So the
Hmm.
prophet Noble Drali is constantly reiterating these principles so they become a part of our subconscious. So they're interwoven in our daily activities on how we communicate with one another, but also with the world in general.
That's right.
It is therefore folly at its highest height for smelly corporates with their insidious plans to invade such realm. They try and try, but their own bad planning brings down wrath upon their heads, like the sword of old Damocles had. Intrigue
Hmm.
and scrupulous cunnings find a difficult path to travel within the ranks of the Moors. This is so because the Moorish movement has been well planned by Prophet Noble Ali, whose latent powers are abundant, unknown, and may be called into action as a matter of defense at any moment.
Hmm.
Prophet Noble Ali knows the people within his ranks who are interested. They are the vanguard of the of the movement as the Moorish hordes increase here in America.
Hmm.
All of the Moors are active, not passive. A member's interest can only be in one direction, and having traveled over the road years before, the prophet knows where every member is along the road.
Hmm.
A few feet below, another road where schemers, the word's cut off. Let me see.
Where schemers walk and traders grin.
That's right. Where schemers walk, traders grin, and and culprits bask in the sun. They think they're on the road with true Moors, but the Moors are high above on the pinnacle where they might view the destructionists as they fall for the last time, and their bones bleach in the sultry midday sun.
Hmm.
Hungry scavengers flying high, catch the scent, devour and leave crying out caveat emptor.
Hmm.
Cast out the dead carcass. The Moors high above see the plotters, purveyors, the worst that exists, hurl them downward by their own works as the hawks await. Now, it's a lot of symbolism in this specific article that we find in our Moorish guide. But one part that stands out to me, it's a couple of parts that stand out to me, but specifically the Prophet Noble Drali speaks of the two roads. And at times, we can find ourselves on either road, but
Hmm.
there are certain things that we went over last week in regards to the Moorish Science Temple of America, what the Moorish Science Temple of America is, what it is not, and the ultimate goal and purpose of the Moorish Science Temple of America.
That's right.
And we're going to make a distinction without being disrespectful, because we're not practicing disrespect to anyone who belongs to any specific organization, whatever, and it works for them. We praise a lot. But as I stated a few minutes ago, when the co-host Sheik Valinsby read what he read, we have no desire at all to be a part of any of those organizations because
Right.
we know the origin of those organizations, and quite frankly, those organizations were not created for the salvation of our people.
Yeah,
Um,
and let the truth be told, that there are some good people in those particular
good
organizations.
people, right?
I happen to have family members, and they're very good people.
Like,
However, I
likewise,
would never I would never become a part of those particular organizations because I
same.
know the history of it. And let the like, all right, another in that when we get into this, right?
Right.
If people just simply investigate the uniform commercial codes, right, and these people who were propagating that, basically they knew that people wouldn't do their due diligence. The uniform commercial codes didn't come into existence till 1952,
52, yeah,
which
52.
was 26 years after the Prophet Noble Ali had come. So how could the Prophet Noble Ali been making reference to the uniform commercial codes? He
Mhm.
couldn't have.
No,
Um, I kind of see where people probably could get misconstrued, but that is not for the uniform commercial codes is not for the salvation of our people, right? It's simply not. And if it was, then I'm thinking, because the Prophet Noble Ali is a prophet, I'm thinking that it would have came out in 1926, and he would have been able to utilize it. But in 1952, come on, that's 26 years after the Prophet Noble Ali is gone.
Right.
And this is just like um Jesus' disciples being called Christians first in Antioch, and this was way
Way
after
after he left the
Jesus
scene.
passed off the scene. You see
Right.
what I'm saying? So we know and understand that the uniform commercial codes couldn't be it. You see what I'm
Not,
saying?
not at all.
Now we use a lot of different language, right? And sometimes we could be in public, and I might say, Mo, you see that demonstration there? And what happens is we're conveying a thought,
Right.
and it's like we pick up on what the demonstration is, right?
Islam.
So I just want to I want to define demonstration, right? Because
Correct.
if anybody that's listening here, I say demonstration, and you like, what are they talking about? Know that we are picking up on each other's thoughts when we talk about demonstration, right? It's the
Islam.
energy.
It's the
So
energy.
a demonstration is the action or process of showing the existence or truth of something, a practical exhibition and explanation of how something works or is performed. So like I said, when we could be walking down the street and I say, Mo, you see that demonstration there? And it's almost like we automatically know what we're talking about, right?
Right.
So please don't be offended or think that we trying to, it's just something that we do, you
Yeah,
know.
it's the language.
And
Language we speak.
yeah, and also um I mentioned last time that we are practitioner scholars. And once again,
So
this was not to downgrade anybody or say, you know, what so I want to identify what a practitioner scholar is, because we're not saying that we're the only ones. We're just letting people know that this is what we are.
Islam.
Um, so basically, when we say that we are practitioner scholars, we use an advanced educational and operational model that is focused on practical application of scholarly knowledge. And what we're talking about scholarly knowledge in this particular point of view, we're talking about more science, which means more sense and more insight
Right.
into life and how we're supposed to live our life,
That's right.
right? So praise Allah.
Praise
You
a
know.
lot. So we want to get into it, right? So I know that you mentioned the UCC, right? We
Yeah.
want to get into, we want to look at the origin of this old movement. When before I even came into the movement,
Hmm.
well, nah, that wasn't even the first time I was introduced to the Moorish Science Temple of America, more
Hmm.
science. But I know that when YouTube started to kind of like catch momentum, I used to see a lot of videos of people who would, how can I say it? They would demonstrate specific things, what I would notice, in my early 20s, is that they would have fezzes on, and then
Uh-huh.
they would often say, "Well, this person is a Moorish sovereign citizen or something of that nature." And I was like, "Moorish sovereign citizen?" Now I ran into Moorish Americans prior to that, but
Uh-huh.
all the Moorish Americans that I ran into from the time I was 17 up to the time I was about 22, 23, I was like, that doesn't sound right. Something's not right about that. But it's
Right, right,
intriguing.
right.
You're young, it's intriguing. It's like these people were standing up against the authorities. And
Hmm.
at that time, I was very militant and things of that nature, just
Hmm.
leveling off. But I came to find out, coming into the Moorish Science Temple of America, that really has nothing to do with the Moorish Science Temple of America whatsoever
Nothing at all.
at all. And
That's
when you
right.
start investigating it, the sovereign citizens movement, along with the topic of uh, masonry, a specific strand
Uh,
of masonry,
yeah,
it has
yeah,
an origin which comes from the Confederate States of America, and we're going to qualify that momentarily.
yeah,
Islam.
yeah. And basically I'm smiling from ear to ear because my
I know.
wife to be is she just said Islam.
Yeah,
Islam,
I see it in the chat.
Islam, Islam. Breed the
Islam.
juice lady. That's everybody, that's my
Oh,
wife
yeah,
to
right
be.
there. That's right. That's
Praise
right.
Allah.
Islam
So
is.
and it's like you said, I got a story, Mo. Like
Go ahead.
I united in the temple in 1998, December 1998. When I first came in the temple, I never heard enough. I learned about more science because I was going to these things called call to consciousness. Uh I I was a part of an organization for a brief moment as a the nation of gods and earths.
Mhm.
And I used to always like, well, where did they come from? And I found out that they came from the Nation of Islam. And then I was like, well, where did the Nation of Islam come from? And then I read some information about the Nation of Islam coming from the Moorish Science Temple.
Right.
So I found cards, and so I found my way to the temple.
Islam.
So during that time when I united in the temple, there was this group that after maybe 3 years me being in the temple, it was this group that came about. They was calling themselves the Azazian Moors.
Mhm.
So at this time, you could get a passport, and they would give you automatically if you had a United States, I mean, or a driver's license from any of the states, you would automatically get, or you could request an international driver's license. So some of these guys was trying to beat child support, right?
Mhm.
And it was real heavy in the temple where the elders at that time was like the Moorish Science Temple of America does not harbor law violators,
That's right.
right?
That's
Because
right.
people, what they were doing, because they weren't paying their child support, so what they were doing was they were going to get the passport, and then they got the international driver's license. So when the police pulled them over, basically what they would do, they would the police would be in a process of arresting them because they were driving on a suspended license.
Wow.
These jokers would pull out um, the international driver's license and say they were diplomats. So this started causing friction, and this was some of the first remnants of before they started getting into calling themselves sovereign citizens, talking about the straw man and stuff like
Right.
that. So some of the some of the beginnings of where some of this stuff started creeping into the Moorish Science Temple. That was around like 98, 99,
Wow.
2000, sometime around that time.
Mhm.
And some of the elders were doing fighting against it.
That's
And
right.
then, now it started a snowball effect.
Yeah.
And I bear witness to that because, you know, man, pay your child support.
That's
Take
right.
care
Take
of
care
your
of your
children.
family. That's
You
right.
at odds with your sister woman that you created, and we can say that because who we are on this show, who we are in our homes, and
Yeah.
who we are
That's
in
right.
the temple, that's who we are.
Right.
You know, we do fall short sometimes, but not to the point to where as though we fleecing people, not to the point where we're
Right.
gonna mistreat people and
Mhm.
things of this nature. So, and this is not to be braggadocious or anything like that. And
I know.
I need to keep saying that because there are a whole lot of good brothers and sisters that's out there, So
That's right.
I just wanted to tell that little story about where I first started seeing, Moors breaking away, doing different things, uh just doing goofy stuff, giving the Moorish Science Temple of America
A
a
bad
bad
name.
name.
Right.
Yeah, praise Allah.
It's gotten out of hand.
Yeah, and it's
All
time
right.
for it to stop because the Prophet Noble Drew Ali never brought.
No.
He didn't bring that stuff.
No, he
And
didn't.
now we gonna get into
Here
this break. Man, pull that letter out.
we go. Here we go.
This is
Respectfully, we got to put it out, right? So
yeah,
this
pull it
article right here, qualifying that this article is not an article that we created. It's not something that we, put up. It's coming from Harris County in Texas. As I noticed, and I've been investigating it for a while. This issue with the sovereign citizen movement has really taken or spread like wildfire in the South.
out.
Um, and it's also here in the East Coast as well as the Midwest. But I'm just going to read portions of it, and then he gets into the history of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this individual published the article last year, but this has been ongoing, right? It
Mm-hmm.
says, I gave up trying to figure out how the algorithm of social media pushes its stories, ads, and possibly agenda on me. But for the life of me, I can't help but wonder why a couple of months ago I started seeing lots of videos with the same disturbing thing. So
Mm-hmm.
we talked about some of those videos, and I told everyone who's listening this evening, these are the same videos I saw about a decade ago.
Mm-hmm.
right? As a younger man, right? It says the videos are always from one of two perspectives. It is either from the cell phone of someone who just had been pulled over, or it is the dash body cam of an officer executing a traffic stop. The video inevitably unfolds like this. The police officer will ask for a driver's license and registration and proof of insurance, but the driver will counter with a demand to know the officer's name and badge number, which is, again, you can do that. The officer sometimes provides this information, or they say that it will be available after they see the driver's information. The driver again will refuse and usually request a supervising officer. Again, nothing out of the ordinary with that. I've seen that before. The police officer will try and explain the situation of why they pulled over the driver and why they need the driver's information. But the driver continues to argue in a wordplay circle. So here's where it gets a little weird. They refuse any of the officer's requests to provide their license and repeatedly make statements like, I'm not driving, I'm traveling, or I do not contract with you. Whatever their pattern is, it is definitely scripted and it always ends with the driver in handcuffs. These are the sovereign citizens, which in a broad term includes dozens of different organizations located all over the world. Let's go to Oxford, right? It says sovereign, sovereign citizen, sovereign citizens, a member of a political movement of people who oppose taxation, question the legitimacy of government, and believe that they are not subject to the law. Now, we know when we read in our Moorish literature, we know when we read in the divine constitution and bylaws and everything given to us by Prophet Noble Ali, this is diametrically opposed to what the Prophet Noble Ali has brought us. The Prophet Noble Ali lets us know that we are, in fact, part and parcel of the government. The Prophet Noble Ali lets us know that we are, in fact, true American citizens. These are the
And
things. Go ahead,
and
shoot.
he says we are lawfully
Chartered,
chartered
lawful.
and
That's right.
incorporated organization. Now let me.
Right.
I want to
Go ahead.
lawfully. So what lawfully means is in a way that conforms or is permitted or recognized by the law. So
That's
that's
right.
what he's saying. Chartered, it means founded or having its rights and privileges established by the means of a charter.
That's right.
Incorporated means that we are formed into a legal corporation, and specifically in this sense, a religious corporation.
That's
You
right.
understand? Meaning that we have tenets, we have things that we are supposed to live up to in standards. And when we live up to these particular standards, this is what we are living up to these particular things because what we are trying to do or what we are supposed to be doing is uplifting fallen humanity
That's right.
according to our principles: love, true, peace, freedom, and justice. If you're not doing that,
You out
you
of
are
order.
out of order, and you are not in any way, form, or fashion living according to what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali established in his divine constitution and bylaws, the Moorish literature,
More science temple.
humanity pamphlet,
Right.
and a number of other, and a number, the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. So stop blaming him for your human behavior, because the human behavior is, or your human knowledge, the clearest human knowledge is but blindness and folly. What we want to do is live up to the divine standard and the divine instructions.
That's right. All right.
Praise Allah.
Praise a lot. Thank you for adding that in, sheet.
Praise
So let's get to the roots of it, right? So what are the roots of the sovereign citizen movement? And like we said, we're going to tie this into a lot of the other issues that we see happening across the circuit. So it says, what are the roots of the sovereign citizen, quote unquote, movement? While probably not true of the majority of those today who identify themselves as sovereign citizens, the roots of the movement are racist and anti-Semitic.
Good gosh almighty.
Come on, man. That's not even how on earth can something like this be even for the salvation of our people? And this is why. And don't take my word, research it. And we also have another article as well.
And after you get finished, I got another story.
Okay, here we go. It was founded by William Potter Gale in 1971, a former member of the John Birch Society. Gale formed a group of anti-government Christian identity adherents who mistrusted state and federal officials.
Oh, I got a question, Mo. What is our religion?
Islamism.
Okay.
Nothing to do with Christianity, not speaking radical against my brothers and sisters who are Christians. The Prophet Noble Ali teaches us that, Christianity is good for some, but we prefer, the religion of our ancient forefathers. because we all, we're following the customs and principles and traditions and the religion of our ancient forefathers. Let's continue. It says they believe that I'm gonna say so-called, that non-so-called white people were not human, and that Jews possessed a satanic plot to take over the world. This is the origin of the sovereign citizen movement. Mm-hmm. So for all who are talking about their sovereign and UCC and things like that, you need to study the origins of this movement. It says the sovereign citizens movement. That's an attachment right there from the Southern Poverty Law Center. But let's continue, right? Keep in mind, this is not a protest movement, but an apparent, sincere belief that they exist in another world that has a completely different set of rules. Although they might not claim to recognize the authority of any given entity from the federal to local, they inevitably find themselves subject to the rules and consequences of very real governments that they do not recognize. All right, last point. I'm not going to read the entire thing. And if you want a copy of this, we can put it in the link. Matter of fact, I'll put it in the link after I finish. It says, it's confusing that for a long time seemed to be their biggest strength. It's confusing and that for a long time seemed to be their biggest strength. They would clog the judicial system with erroneous lawsuits and pseudo-legal briefs, and which has been called paper terrorism.
That's right.
And while these tactics could be extremely disruptive and cause substantial distress, the truly disturbing fact is how their actions and belief have contributed to a substantial rise in violence and fatal outcomes. All right, we're gonna stop right there, and I'll put this in the chat for everyone if anybody wants to pull it up for themselves. As long
and look, one day, because I worked in I work in human services, right?
Right.
And I don't know how many years ago, but I was supervising the group home for boys. And then supervising the group home for boys, it was this show came on, Burn Notice. And it had a European, and he was demonstrating a sovereign citizen lessons, or whatever you want to call those things, right?
Right.
And he was using the terminology ill and bay.
Wow.
And I'm like, I said, hold up. I still can't find what episode this is on the Burn Notice, but this is how popular this stuff had gotten the attention of TV show writers, and pretty much they were making mockery in a sense of who it is and what we are. You understand?
Right.
And the irony of it was they had a European utilizing those particular titles. And anybody can look. I don't know what episode it is, but it's called Burn Notice, right?
Right.
And we have a good brother. He he was in a certain place, and this individual, see, what people don't hear about people practicing or these sovereign degrees or challenging the police. Number one, as a Moorish American, I'm not going to find myself at odds with the law.
Yes.
That's number one.
That's right.
And if I do find myself at odds with the law, it's not going to be because I intentionally was trying to get over or something to that. It may be a mistake. And I'm going to admit to what it is that I've done, and I'm going to make a speedy reparation to correct that matter. Right. Mm-hmm. So anyhow, this individual was taunting the warden of a prison, right? He kept taunting them, writing what they consider paper terrorists, taking the prison system, the court, the warden, and the warden got tired of it, and told this individual, since you want to cause confusion, basically he put him on what is called diesel therapy.
That's right.
And diesel therapy means, people, that this particular individual who was practicing them sovereign degrees, trying to tie the prison and the court systems up, he was put on a bus and he was drove all around the United States, and he would get off, shower, eat, and then guess what? After he did that, he get his butt right back on that bus, and he going around to different federal prisons, because listen, you can't drive without a license and insurance. And then you hit my car, and what if my wife and my children in there? You mean to tell me you're not trying to help the situation?
That's right.
it's nonsense. It's
That's
nonsense.
right.
And, and a lot of people like to throw this word around too, Mo. And I'm not making fun of anybody, but I just got to put it out there because I'm teaching body politic.
Okay.
Well, what is body politic? It's a word, or it's a phrase meaning corporation, but also it's a metaphor as well, right? And
Right.
it's a metaphor utilized to identify a social organization. And what I mean by social organization, not that the organization just socializes, but it is an organization that participates in correcting social issues, like the
That's
Moorish
right.
Science Temple of America, right?
Right.
We are a corporation that corrects um, the social issues, morality, and ethics of our people.
That's right.
And this is one of the reasons why we're referred to as a body politic. But people try to make it seem like it's so, uh, and it is a magnificent word. And I'm not, but what I'm saying is, when you use that word, tell the people what it is. Don't try to make it seem like it's more than what it is, right? And it also identifies a polity. Now, what is a polity? It's a form or process of civil government of a constitution and organized society as a state or as a political state in a sense, right? So the Moorish Science Temple of America, we are a community, right? First,
Right.
and then we are building to become a nation of people. But in order to do that, you have to be moral, you have to be ethical, and it
Right.
has to be done according to the principles of love, true peace, freedom, and justice. And this is what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali was telling us: if we but harness those particular principles, then we can see the best that's in our brothers and sisters, and we can see and bring out the best that's in ourselves and our brothers and sisters. So praise Allah.
Praise Allah. So it's another point that we want to hit on as well, because again, the last point we dealt with was the cyber citizens, right? And
That's right.
early in the segment, I made a statement, and just to qualify the statement, we said, we're going to find out. It was touched on and expounded on just a little bit in brief about the word masonry came up and how we don't have any affiliation at all, respectfully to those individuals who belong to those organizations, but
Yeah.
we know that those organizations are fraternal, and also those organizations
And
are
Christian
so
fraternities.
Christian,
Christian fraternities.
Christian organizations. That is true, and they're also social organizations. And we're not talking about social in the sense of what you just mentioned in regards to changing the mindset or the trajectory of the people. Even
That's
though
right.
they do help people in certain ways, but we're talking
Yeah.
about in the state of nationhood and nation building, right?
Right, right.
Now, to go back to the sovereign citizens and then tie it all together. We made reference to the Confederate States of America, and I tried pulling up, but it was a lag to it. So I'll share this as well. This is from Encyclopedia Britannica, and I'm just going to read the first portion of it. It says the Confederate States of America, historical nation, North America, also known as the CSA, written and fact checked by the editors of Encyclopedia Britannica. It says this: the Confederate States of America in the American Civil War, the government of 11 southern states that succeeded from the Union in 1860 through 1861, carrying on the affairs of a separate government and conducting a major war until defeated in the spring of 1865. Now, the question becomes, well, why did they succeed? Well, we know one of the issues of why they succeeded is because of the economic benefit at that time of physical slavery. That's
Mhm.
a given. We also know that the origins of the Confederate States of America, they believe that the federal government should not have their hands in the business and the affairs of the citizens, and they believed in small government, and then they also believed in the abolition of government in its entirety from the local, state, and federal level. And one individual, go ahead, Shay.
And also that whole thing meaning that the federal government should not have been in the business of slavery. They
Correct.
wanted to keep us slaves. So that
Correct.
means that there's stuff that people talking, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali is freeing us from slavery,
Right.
and the language and the principles that these other people are practicing
It's
is
putting
for
us
slavery.
back in it. Right.
And I think that's Sheik's Star Child Ill
Yes, it is.
says that the sovereignty or people who are practicing it are using it as an excuse to be lazy and beg of people.
They don't want to
And,
learn. They don't want to
and
learn.
we are the prophet specifically says that we are not beggar people.
That's right.
You understand? So
That's right.
yeah, ain't nobody coming to save you. They already done came, and now we gotta take what he brought us and we gotta save ourselves.
Ain't no free lunch.
Ain't no free lunch.
Good luck. All right.
Ain't no free
So
lunch.
we made reference to somebody, an individual, right? This individual is known. He's known, and I had to bring it out. So let's go to the article, right? He was a prominent Confederate. And if you're not familiar with this person, you're going to get familiar with him in a minute.
That's right.
Right? So let me see. Here we go. All right, cool. This gentleman right here, this person, the individual right here, his name is Albert Pike. General Albert Pike, as a matter of fact. This man, Albert Pike, was a proponent for slavery. He wanted to continue physical slavery. He's quoted to say, if we, and I'm quoting him, he stated that if we were to free the so-called Negro, then what would we possibly do next? Or what would we have next, right? So the man was ultimately, he was a proponent for slavery, but also he was a chief justice of the Invisible Empire, also known as the Ku Klux Klan. And guess what else?
He's the father. He's the father of the Scottish Rite.
He is the father, right? He's the father of the Scottish Rite Freemasonry here in America. And let's go into it real quick.
So
just briefly. Go ahead, Sheik.
So Mo, how can you be an organization, right, that was very much so, right, involved in.
Hold on, Sheik, you're breaking up. We're going to give it a second to buff out. We thank everybody for tuning in. Just, bear with us. Let's see. All right. You good?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you now. Go ahead. Yeah, you back.
How is the Prophet Noble Drew Ali involved with this when he specifically says that slavery lasted from 1779 till 1865? How can Prophet Noble Drew Ali be a part of this organization and he was coming to free us? But here we see that the Ku Klux Klan, these boys, they wanted to perpetuate slavery.
That's right.
So how could Prophet Noble Drew Ali be a part of that? But we're gonna continue. I just wanted to ask that question.
Yeah, all is well. So here we go. So General Albert Pike, these are some of his honors, right? These are some of the honors that he was given. General Albert Pike, Confederate States Army. So he was a Confederate. He was the Chief Justice for the Invisible Empire Ku Klux Klan. He is the father of Scottish Rite Masonry here in America. The reproduction oil painting presented by Mr. Von Pike, who was one of his descendants, the son of Albert Pike in Leesburg, Virginia. It says, surely after these readings, it's not hard for our fair-thinking fellow citizens of the North to account for the solidarity of the South and the organization of the Ku Klux Klan of Arkansas, which was led by General Albert Pike. Now, here's the hint. Albert Pike wasn't a Southerner. He was actually from the North. So everything that you learned in school, the North versus the South, no, we're debunking that as well. All right. It says General Albert Pike was born in Boston, Massachusetts, December 29th, 1809. He was 4 years old. His parents were moved to Newburyport in the same state where young Pike grew to manhood, getting unusual education times in common school, supplemented by a few terms at private school in his own town, in the same town, and at the academy in Framingham. He began to teach school at the age of 15, and when he was 16, passed an examination and entered a freshman at the freshman class at Harvard. Owing to the straitened circumstances, he paid for his board and tuition by teaching during the fall and winter at Gloucester. He fitted himself while teaching to enter the junior class in the fall of 1826 and passed the necessary examination, but owing to a misunderstanding with the general faculty regarding his tuitions, he returned home and educated himself, going through a prescribed course of studies for his junior and senior years. He taught in Fairview, and we're going to continue to move forward. I just want to get into the meat of Pike. And again, we can share this as well. In the spring of 1831, he started for the West, walking much of the way for the next few years, traveled, explored, and traded, and lived among the so-called Indians, learning their language and customs. And by honest, straightforward, and I'm gonna put that in quotes, association with them, gained a confidence which 30 years after, during the Civil War, made him such a useful and powerful among them in the cause of the Confederacy, which he exposed and espoused, and later in the prosecution or claims against the U.S. government in their behalf. General Pike commanded a regiment and after a while a brigade of so-called Indians from the Confederate States of America. And as you continue to read this article, what you're going to find about Albert Pike is that a lot of the stuff that he was doing at that time, he was doing it for the benefit of the Confederates. And as you know, studying the history of the Civil War, the Confederate States of America were the Confederate States of America were in fact out of the constitutional fold. They were considered law violators. You know, again, not only dealing with that aspect, but the notion of not subscribing to an actual government, not being a part of the government, and also the whole idea of him being the father of Scottish Rite Freemasonry here in America, unless you know and understand that, number one, is diametrically opposed to the teachings of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali.
That's right.
Every,
And guess what else? Guess what else the Confederate States of America called the United States of America?
What they call it?
They called it the de facto government.
That sounds very familiar.
It sounds very familiar. Hey, and their president, what was that boy name?
Jefferson Davis.
Jefferson Davis. That's the language that he used. So now we're showing you, you know, that basically the language that these people that's calling themselves sovereign citizens, they are utilizing this particular information, and it comes from something that's diametrically opposed to the message of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Also, there's no such thing as Moorish mechanics
or Moorish Masons.
Or Moorish Masons, because the Prophet Noble Drew Ali never established such organizations. These are innovations that came much later, and people are attaching Moorish to these particular practices. And unfortunately, people, it's not. You.
I got one more thing.
Yeah, pull it out, Mo.
All right, here we go. So we gotta pull it out. But before we do that, right? I want to just reiterate what we stated earlier. You can go back when you look at the playback. The prophet says that Moors are men upright, independent, and fearless who care for their loved ones and follow the prophet to a destiny which is not uncertain nor unknown. I want us to focus on that point, because what we're about to pull out right now is not from the Moorish Science Temple of America. It's not a document that we created or formulated. It's coming from the Chicago Museum of Masonic History. It's a letter. And this letter, you can write them. You can probably email them and get a copy of the letter yourself. My apologies for shaking the camera. But when you see it and what we're about to read, the sheik's going to take a reading. Yeah, it's going to be mind blowing. That's all I'm going to say. It's going to be mind blowing. Here we go. Islam. Pull it up. All right, here we go. All right, sheik. Here it is. Take it away.
Okay, it says Chicago Museum of Masonic History, 1732 West Fletcher Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60657. Has their phone number. This letter was written sometime in November the 18th, 1985. And this individual is writing to Mr. Chick Webb, right? I mean, excuse me, Mr. Jack Chick, who's an author, right? And he says, "Dear Mr. Chick, I find this hard to write to you, almost as if now my head were going to burst open. I know that somebody has been praying for me. I can feel it, even now, past this pain. Sir, I need this Christ that you know and speak of. I am the most evil person that even I know of. I won't be surprised if this letter doesn't find its way to you. And, oh, excuse me, at least let me tell you what I know. I have read one of your publication, Angel of Light. I have been a fool, and now perhaps it is too late for me. I am one of the 13 within
The state,
this state,
Illinois.
Illinois.
Mm.
I am what you call the Illuminati. For the record, I also I am also a 33rd degree Mason and the head of the Grand Council of Illinois and many, many other things, ranks and titles. Sir, if you will send me your other, if any, publications, Crusader Books, etc., I will send you documentation that will chill your blood to the bone. You know about half of what I uh excuse
What
me,
is
you
relaying?
know about half
Yeah,
of what is really going on. The connection between the Freemasons, Nazi Party, and the Catholic Church, and I do not even know where to begin this. Please excuse my spelling and typing, but I am in great pain and in mortal fear for both my life and soul. Please help me to find some sort of peace. I will go into further detail in my next letter. Now, for all those who are out there trying to say
Michael J.
that,
MacArthur.
huh?
I said the author is Michael J. MacArthur. That's his name.
That's the cure, right? And if I'm not mistaken, he's the curator of that particular, or at that time, he was the curator of
Correct.
that museum. Now, for all those who try to say that Prophet Noble Drew Ali is or was a Mason, all you gotta do is write to the Masonic Library and ask them to show you in their rolls if Thomas Drew or Timothy Drew or Prophet Noble Drew Ali was on their rolls, and I guarantee you
Not
that
gonna
you
find
won't
it.
get a favorable reply.
That's right.
Now you might ask us, why is that? Well, praise Allah. So stop associating Prophet Noble Drew Ali with Masonry
That's right.
because he wasn't one.
Nope.
Okay. So stop doing your guesswork and go do your research. And that puts the nail in the coffin of that. You know, he wasn't.
Not affiliated at all.
He came to uplift our people and for our people to know and bring out the best that's in them. You
Quick
can't,
question for you, Shay.
huh?
Quick question for you.
Yeah, yeah.
I know we talked about before. How many orders during the time of the Prophet Noble Drew? How many orders were here in America, roughly?
Man, I it was hundreds, maybe even thousands. And
Okay.
at that particular time, 90% of the population were in orders.
It wouldn't
And
make
when
any sense for them to try to put us in masonry. You know what I'm
no,
saying?
yeah, I mean he would have disfigured our feathers.
That's right.
And when I say disfigured, meaning putting writing on it,
That's
he would
right.
have talked our tassel down. But in fact, it's
Free.
not talked down.
That's
It's
right.
our feathers are not disfigured. You
That's
you
right.
understand? So um, if that's what he wanted us to be, that's what he would have said, and he didn't say that.
That's right.
So he he is Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and we know and understand that he's Professor Drew the Egyptian Adat.
That's right.
Plain and simple.
That's right.
Yeah, he wasn't a part of any of those organizations. If anything, he came to take our people out of those organizations
That's right.
because when you pay your dues and things of that nature to those organizations, now the question is
Where
where
they
do they send
go.
their money to?
Right.
Yeah, man. I mean, and this is not to slight anyone, but stop putting that stuff on Prophet Noble Drew Ali.
That's right.
Yeah, because he's not what y'all trying to make him to be.
At all.
Praise Allah.
Praise Allah. So we're actually going to conclude this episode. We hope that you have learned something. If you have any questions, I think we got another question in the chat. Let me see. I don't want to slight anyone. Oh, the brother said, yeah, thank you. We appreciate that. Thank you
Yeah.
for your support. So again, if you have any questions or any comments at all, anything that we presented, we can be reached at moorishmedia@gmail.com. If you're in the Baltimore metropolitan area, we invite you out to the Moorish Science Temple of America temple number 13, which is located at 1055 North Milton Avenue under the leadership of National Grand Sheikh T. Jones Bay. We also invite you out to our Holy Day, which is Fridays from 8 to 10, and our Sunday schools from 12 to 2. Please come out. If you have any questions at all, know that our Sunday schools are open forum. I am the Sunday school instructor. Sheikh Lasbeg is my senior. He is the previous Sunday school instructor and current assistant Grand Sheikh of the temple. We invite you out. We're family oriented. You come to the temple. Know that you are at home and you're amongst family. We also want to invite you out if you are in Baltimore. We have two temples. You have temple number 13. You also have temple number 13-2 under the leadership of Grand Sheikh Eric Thompson Bay, which is located at 2900 Pressman Street. And that's in West Baltimore. We're in East Baltimore. Come on out, same time, Fridays from 8 to 10, Sundays from 12 to 2. Come and learn the truth about who you are, learn the truth about your forefathers and foremothers. And we also have our respective temples throughout the country as well. Sheikh, you want to give our listeners and viewers?
Yeah, we got temple number 39, Bethlehem. That's in Durham, North Carolina. We gotta get the address.
Right.
But the Grand Sheik and the Grand Sheikess and Grand Sheik is Nasir and Hope Maya Il. Beautiful family. We got Grand Sheik Dr. Il up in
Troy.
You got Troy, and then you got Grand Sheik Garrison Bay, who was up in Albany. Then you got the temple in Philadelphia, Sheik 11-1 Sheik Victor Lewis Hill. You have Grand Sheik Crown Hill, temple number 27 in Atlanta. Also, I see the Sheik Haru Renisi Hill was watching.
That's right.
That's a temple. There, we'll get all of these addresses so the people can come out or go out. Also, you have the temple. It's a couple other temples here in Baltimore. I got to get the times. All I know is it's a temple on Bel Air Road. I don't have the actual address. Please forgive me because I said I was going to have it this week. And then you have the temple
Park
Heights in Oakford. It's and I got the address. And I'll make sure people have it, but please visit your nearest Moorish Science Temple of America and come out and learn the truth about yourself and what our mission is as the Moorish Science Temple. Also, we have an event coming up. Do you know the actual date of it?
It's April 6th. So April 6th at the temple, we will be having a informational, also providing some consultation and resources for senior citizens living in the Baltimore metropolitan area. So come on out to get some information in regards to resources for senior citizens in the form of Medicare, Social
Medicare, and some other
security, etc.
Yeah,
and other resources as well.
Yeah, a speaker coming out who will be, telling the public of what resources.
Hold on, Sheik, you're breaking up. What resources that we have, and so again, that's on April 6th. That's a Saturday. So if you're in the area, if you're a Baltimore resident, please come on out. All right. So with that being said, we want to conclude with the Moorish American prayer.
Islam. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
The Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth. Peace. Freedom. And justice. Allah is my protector. My guide. And my salvation. By night. And by day. Through his holy prophet.
Drew Ali. Amen. Love and peace. We'll see you later on next week.